The Soviet-Afghan War, a brutal crucible, bled the USSR dry, hastening its collapse and shaping our world. But what if Moscow had won decisively, securing Afghanistan? How would this seismic victory ripple through the Cold War, reshape global power, and dramatically alter the 21st century we know? And let's find the answer to the question, what IF? A decisive Soviet victory in Afghanistan would have acted as an unexpected anchor, significantly bolstering the ailing superpower. This clear military success would have provided a powerful propaganda triumph, validating Soviet expansionism and reinforcing internal faith in the socialist system's strength and reach. Such a win could have effectively countered the growing cynicism and dissent within Soviet society, offering a much-needed morale boost. Crucially, without the draining Afghan syndrome, the immense economic and human cost of a losing war, the pressing need for radical reforms like glasnost and perestroika under leaders such as Gorbachev might have been greatly diminished. Instead, any reforms undertaken could have prioritized military might and control over liberalization. Furthermore, a successful, less costly campaign would have freed up valuable resources, potentially allowing for strategic investments in other struggling sectors of the Soviet economy. Alternatively, it might have emboldened the leadership to maintain elevated military spending, sustained by the perceived efficacy and invincibility of the Soviet military for a longer period. A decisive Soviet victory would have unfurled a red star over the Hindu Kush, fundamentally reshaping regional power. Afghanistan would emerge as a stable, communist satellite, a crucial buffer and strategic foothold for Soviet influence, extending directly to the borders of Pakistan and Iran. This pivotal shift would dramatically alter the geopolitical landscape of South Asia. Consequently, Pakistan, deprived of its vital role as a frontline state against Soviet expansionism and a conduit for Western aid, would see its internal politics and foreign policy reconfigured, significantly diminishing its strategic importance to the West. Crucially, without years of protracted conflict drawing international fighters and serving as a training ground, the region would not have become the intense crucible for the radicalization and organization of pan-Islamic movements, preventing the rise of some of the most prominent threats we know today. A Soviet victory in Afghanistan would have dramatically reshaped the global Cold War chessboard. For the United States, it would signify a profound setback to its containment doctrine, necessitating a serious reevaluation of its proxy war strategy. Washington might have opted for increased caution, or conversely, a more direct and aggressive stance. Simultaneously, a triumphant Red Army would project an undeniable image of formidable strength and strategic success. This surge in confidence could have emboldened Soviet leadership to exert greater influence in other contested regions globally, or at least significantly strengthened their negotiating position in crucial arms control talks. Consequently, the Cold War itself might have been prolonged or intensified. The perception of Soviet prowess could have led to a more protracted and tense standoff between the superpowers, potentially accelerating the global arms race as the US sought to counter these perceived Soviet gains. Imagine a world where the seeds of global jihad as we know it simply weren't sown. A Soviet victory would have fundamentally prevented the rise of this modern threat. The protracted conflict in Afghanistan, acting as a grim crucible, would never have become the critical training and ideological proving ground for figures who later forged major global terror networks. Consequently, the Arab Afghans, international volunteers drawn to the conflict, would not have coalesced into the potent transnational force we witnessed emerge. Therefore, the specific strain of global jihadism, gaining organizational power and widespread prominence directly from that war, would likely not have developed in the same devastating form or to the same degree. While other forms of Islamic fundamentalism might still have persisted, the globally networked and highly destructive threat that actually emerged would be absent. This profound historical shift fundamentally alters the security landscape of the late 20th and early 21st centuries, preventing the emergence of defining threats and pivotal events that indelibly shaped our modern world. A Soviet victory in Afghanistan would fundamentally reshape the 21st century. Without the debilitating drain of the Afghan war, the USSR's collapse might have been significantly delayed, its internal contradictions playing out differently or over a longer period, perhaps leading to a slower decline rather than the rapid implosion of 1991. Consequently, former Soviet republics would face a starkly altered trajectory. Nationalist movements might be suppressed longer, their bids for independence occurring under profoundly different geopolitical pressures, potentially facing a more unified Moscow. This singular triumph would irrevocably transform the global order. The political, economic, and cultural landscape landscape of the world would be fundamentally changed by the enduring presence of a victorious Soviet power, and the absence of pivotal events that defined our current history, creating a truly different future. A Soviet victory in Afghanistan would have reshaped the USSR's fate, global politics, and prevented modern jihad. In your opinion, what if the Soviet Union won the Soviet-Afghan War? Share your thoughts in the comments.